So no sooner than the acquisition of Housemarque, the possible acquisition of Bluepoint Games, we'll talk more about that later in the video, PlayStation boss Herman Hulst claimed Sony was not in an arms race with Microsoft for studio acquisitions. Though yesterday, the PlayStation Studios boss revealed Sony Interactive Entertainment has acquired long-standing port studio Nixxes. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the studio, well, it ported a ton of games for multiple publishers over the years, the likes of The Rise of the Tomb Raider to Xbox 360, at a time when that hardware was at the end of its life cycle, and they did an amazing job with it. Nixxes has also ported many titles to the PC platform, and speculation is rife as to one of the many reasons Sony Interactive Entertainment may have purchased Nixxes or brought them into the PlayStation fold. I say one of the main reasons because it's clear that Sony are releasing back catalogue first-party games on PC, which ensures the cash flow remains consistent, allowing for more investment into PlayStation content in the future. Some of you have asked my thoughts on PlayStation 4, PS5 in the future possibly. You've asked my opinion, and this is what it is. Unlike some of you who, let's just say, may not be totally over the moon about one-time PlayStation exclusives heading to the PC, because it may devalue the platform, but from a business perspective it makes perfect sense to me, and I'll talk straight on this. PC is not a direct competitor to PlayStation, and it probably never will be. I honestly believe it'll unlikely affect console sales to any significant degree. I mean, in order to run these AAA high production quality PlayStation games the way they were intended, well, you'll need a PC fit for the purpose. A PC that will probably cost you the equivalent of 2, maybe 3 PlayStation 5 consoles, and quite candidly, I personally have no issue with PC gamers getting to delight in the experiences that I had on PS4. Really incredible games that I'm sure PC gamers will want to play. So yeah, Nixxes has had a wealth of experience working across multiple platforms, and I fully expect Nixxes to support other studios. Revive/remake older classic PlayStation titles tucked away in Sony's vault, and to port existing PlayStation first-party titles to PC, freeing up other studios to work on PS5 and PlayStation VR 2 titles. Now, BusinessWire.com has reported, and according to the wording, it does seem like Sony is going to position Nixxes as a support studio. So Sony Interactive Entertainment announced that SIE has completed the acquisition of Nixxes Software, an industry-leading Dutch studio with more than 20 years of experience in game development and optimization. Based in the Netherlands, effective immediately, Nixxes will join PlayStation Studios' technology, creative and services group to provide high-quality in-house technical and development capabilities for PlayStation Studios. Pretty much confirms it. Now, head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, Herman Hulst, had this to say regarding the purchase. I highly respect Nixxes and am excited for this very experienced team to become part of the world-class development community at SIE. Nixxes have a passion for improving games and for delivering the best possible experience for gamers. Nixxes will be a strong asset for everyone across PlayStation Studios, helping our teams focus on their most important goal, which is to create unique PlayStation content at the best possible quality. Echoing the sentiment, Jürgen Katzmann, founder and senior director of Nixxes, said, "We can't wait to get to work and are so excited to bring our technical and development expertise to an IP powerhouse like PlayStation Studios. We're looking forward to working with some of the most talented teams in the industry to deliver the highest quality gameplay experiences for PlayStation fans." Now, before I'm asked, I literally have no idea how much Sony paid to acquire Nixxes, because the terms of the transaction, including acquisition cost, were not disclosed due to contractual commitments. So your guess is as good as mine. So Housemarque and now Nixxes, two very strategic acquisitions, though what of those Bluepoint rumors and that accidentally leaked tweet from PlayStation Japan? Well, Bluepoint has said, as of this moment, and I quote, "Bluepoint is still fully independent. So perhaps the ink hasn't dried yet, or perhaps the deal fell through. Perhaps Bluepoint was simply not interested in being acquired. Perhaps. It's all a ruse, and Sony will announce at an upcoming event Bluepoint games are indeed now part of PlayStation family." Again, your guess is as good as mine. That PlayStation Japan leak, though, very suspect. Now, when you look at both Sony and Microsoft's studio acquisitions to date, the two gaming giants are treading very different paths. In a Pretty interesting article over at gamerrant.com. The same has been considered. Now the headline reads, PlayStation and Xbox studio acquisition strategies highlight key differences. Neither is necessarily better or worse than the other, just for different purposes. So PlayStation and Xbox has been locked in an interesting struggle for the past few decades, with the two brands vying to be the top dog of the game industry. While PlayStation has come out on top based on console sales and quality content, Xbox is in the middle of a major strategy overhaul that could change the games industry for good. But nowhere highlights the split between PlayStation and Xbox's strategies than how they go about buying game studios. There's a drastic difference between how these strategies are meant to shape the perception of both companies, and it's becoming increasingly clear that PlayStation and Xbox have distinct visions for what the future of games should be. That split drives competition between the two, which is a good thing, but it also gives some insight into how each company operates. So when it comes to acquiring new studios, PlayStation is very selective. Its current roster is specifically tailored towards delivering blockbuster games, with the likes of Naughty Dog, Insomniac Games and Sony Santa Monica Studio each pushing out some platform-defining titles in the past 5 years or so. You can also add Sucker Punch to that roster and Polyphony and many other titles. Pick any developer under the PlayStation Studios umbrella and it's likely it produced a Game of Year worthy title since its inception, if not multiple. Now, there are hints that PlayStation will acquire Bluepoint Games too, most recently releasing the Demon's Souls remake, but also having its hands in titles like Shadow of the Colossus remake. It's admittedly odd that Bluepoint acquisition didn't happen sooner. While nothing is guaranteed yet, PlayStation Japan uploaded an image welcoming Bluepoint to the PlayStation family alongside the Housemarque announcement, which makes the acquisition seem likely, though things can change. Now, GamerRant.com has described Xbox's strategy as being a bit more, well, scattershot, meaning Sony is targeting through a scope over a long range, and Microsoft is shotgunning purchases. Though the shotgun approach makes sense for what Microsoft is doing, Xbox isn't looking for a chain of blockbuster games to keep its audience engaged. It's looking to build a roster of impressive titles that it can use to bolster the Game Pass library. By building out a suite of titles, Xbox can function as a sort of Netflix for games, something that Microsoft has expressed interest in the Xbox brand becoming. Xbox, though, has had a central flaw in how its strategy works. Meanwhile, PlayStation dominated the exclusive game conversation for the entirety of PS4 and Xbox One's console generation, and Xbox's response has been to buy studios to make more exclusive games for the Game Pass roster. But Xbox has been announcing games that likely won't be released for many years, with Perfect Dark and Fable being two prime examples, though the same can be said for some of those Sony announcements. Now, it makes the future of Game Pass look very impressive, but it also leads to disappointment during events like E3, where some big name expected games fail to make an appearance. But things should improve over time though, and that's what Xbox has been asking for a long time. Xbox has the advantage of third-party games, making Xbox Game Pass all the more attractive, which makes the service seem all the more valuable. It might not be able to rival the exclusive lineup PlayStation Studios create, but if gamers can get a AAA game for, $10 a month through Game Pass, it becomes a bit easier to stomach giving up exclusive titles, especially with Xbox promising heavy hitters in the future. Now, I think it's important for those, let's say, a bit overly invested in all of this to remember that this is just Game Rant's opinion. They are not involved in either Sony or Microsoft's decision-making process. Therefore, the writer's opinion, although interesting, has no bearing. So Gamer Rant closes the article with, neither approach is necessarily better or worse than the other. With each having distinct pros and cons, those are really more budget orientated can find a lot to love with Game Pass, but PlayStation's emphasis on blockbuster titles, let's be honest about this, has produced some incredible games. There's a best of both worlds approach somewhere in the middle, but it might have taken a third company to make something like that come to fruition. Interesting. Very. Now, I'll add, though not a studio acquisition per se, Xbox Studios and Kojima Productions have signed a letter of intent, which basically means a game is being planned for the future exclusively to Xbox, likely 4 or more years away if they're only at the I'm interested stage. But it does show Microsoft has intent to produce quality content, because to my knowledge Hideo Kojima does not produce low-grade content. Each respective article is linked in this video's description. I've only highlighted portions of them. If you wish to peruse in full, please feel free to do so. So in terms of near future Xbox and PlayStation studio acquisitions, I still believe Bluepoint Games is part of that conversation, and I also believe Microsoft would do well to look at Asobo Studio, the studio behind Microsoft Flight Simulator and the very awesome multi-platform action-adventure A Plague's Tale and its sequel, A Plague's Tale Requiem, scheduled for release on PS5, Xbox Series consoles and PC only. No PS4 or Xbox One this time. So Housemarque, Nixxes, possibly Bluepoint Games, Bethesda, Double Fine, Obsidian and more, it certainly looks like a studio acquisition arms race, no matter what each respective platform holder wants the game media and community to believe. Stating that, although I think PlayStation will probably continue its market leader position this generation, I honestly believe this is also the big Xbox comeback generation, and I feel incredibly fortunate to own both. Though what say you? Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of the video, but let's continue the discussion cordially in the video comments. And for all your gaming news, rumour and plausible speculation and opinion, yes, hit the like button, of course subscribe, hit the notification bell and help us reach more gamers, so feel free to share the video. Consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon and find a link in the video description. Thank you for that extra support. That concludes our time together on this Friday. Thanks for hanging out. Until the next time, play games, not corporations.